Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. Our series of reports on the Benghazi terror attack and new allegations of intimidation and stonewalling from the administration in just a minute. First, President Obama is trying to soft-pedal phrases such as red line and game changer when it comes to Syria and chemical weapons, and substitute words like we don't know and would have to rethink. The complex and contradictory situation with Syria, part of a wide-ranging news conference this morning. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry, our man on the front row.
This time, President Obama never used the phrase red line, instead hedging on the threat he made just 8 months ago, that the use of chemical weapons by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad would lead to more dramatic U.S. action.
We don't know how they were used, when they were used, who used them. We don't have a chain of custody that establishes what exactly happened.
None of those caveats were highlighted when the president made this vow last August.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus.
Despite his own defense secretary Chuck Hagel and other top officials now declaring there is evidence chemical weapons have been used in Syria, the president hinted at the mistakes made in Iraq to say he needs to have clear facts to tie the weapons directly to Assad.
If I can establish in a way that not only the United States but also the international community feel confident is the use of chemical weapons by the Assad regime, then that is a game changer.
You mean U.S. military action?
By game changer, I mean that we would have to rethink the range of options that are available to us.
Former Senator Joe Lieberman said that since over 70,000 Syrians have already been slaughtered, he was troubled by Mr. Obama's statements today.
We can't let this red line become fuzzy in a lot of international lawyering and the United Nations.
The president's hesitation may be reflected in a new CBS News New York Times poll, which found nearly 2/3 of the American public does not want military intervention. On the question of whether the U.S. has a responsibility in Syria, 62% said no, 24% said yes. The Syrian regime is trying to use that wariness to insist Assad is being framed.
Because what happened in Iraq, as I said, is still alive in our minds. Our region, ladies and gentlemen, is still living the consequences of such false allegations.
And there are new signs tonight that for the first time the White House may give lethal aid to the rebels in Syria rather than just the non-lethal aid they've been giving. White House spokeswoman Caitlin Hayden telling me just a moment ago, vehicles, armor, night vision goggles among the items now under discussion. What's significant about that, it would give the White House a chance to show they're being more aggressive about the situation in Syria, but still a step short of actual direct U.S. military intervention, Brett.
Okay, Ed, and the president was asked about Gitmo today.
He was, and remember, this was a big broken promise. The first week in office, the president said he'd close Gitmo within 1 year in office. Today, he blamed Congress, saying that they have sort of blocked his efforts. Republican Buck McKeon fired back that the president never put forth a real bipartisan plan that would work. The bottom line is, at this news conference today, the president said he will now, for the first time in the second term, saying he'll redouble his efforts to close Gitmo in this second term. There's clear signs tonight there's going to be a major battle on his hands to get that done, Brett.
Ed Henry live on the North Lawn. Ed, thank you. President Obama sidestepped a question about information we broke for you last night on an alleged campaign of threats and intimidation against possible whistleblowers tied to the Benghazi terror attack. Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen has new reaction tonight.
The State Department pushed back against charges first aired Monday on Fox News, alleging that Benghazi whistleblowers who were preparing to cooperate with congressional investigators have faced threats and intimidation from their superiors at Foggy Bottom.
We have to demythologize this issue and certainly depoliticize it. American people deserve answers. I'm determined that this will be an accountable and open State Department as it has been in the past.
The State Department would never tolerate or sanction retaliation against whistleblowers on any issue, including this one. That's an obligation we take very seriously. Full stop.
President Obama professed to be unaware of long-standing efforts by GOP lawmakers to question survivors from the Benghazi attacks of September 11, in which terrorists killed the U.S. ambassador to Libya and 3 other Americans.
I'm not familiar with this notion that anybody's been blocked from testifying, so what I'll do is I will find out what exactly you're referring to.
On Monday, former Justice Department official Victoria Tunsing identified herself as one of the attorneys representing a potential Benghazi whistleblower. Still, the Obama administration says no such whistleblowers have come forward, and no lawyers representing them have requested security clearances to review classified materials. Yet Republican Congressman Darrell Issa of California wrote to the State Department's #2 lawyer, Mary McLeod, back on April 16, attorneys representing department personnel in this matter will require clearance to possess and discuss top secret and sensitive compartmented information.
They've had 2 letters from Chairman Issa, one on April 16th, the other one April 26th, that specifically say, we want you to provide a process for clearing a lawyer to receive classified information. How can they possibly get up there and just lie to the press corps?
And that's why we need to give them immunity. That's why we need a congressional investigation. The administration has lost its credibility.
Fox News has learned that the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, chaired by Congressman Issa, will hold a fresh round of hearings on Benghazi, Brett, with the first of them slated to occur on Wednesday of next week.
Okay, James, thank you. President Obama promised to get to the bottom of the Benghazi attack, so why are the perpetrators still free? Correspondent Adam Housley has part 2 of our exclusive investigation.
And make no mistake, justice will be done.
7 months and still no arrest or targeted killings after the brutal attack on 2 U.S. locations in Benghazi, Libya, killing 4 Americans, despite promises that those responsible would be hunted down and held accountable. However, multiple sources tell Fox News that the U.S. has identified the mastermind of the Benghazi attack, who is still in Libya and walks free.
We basically don't want to upset anybody. And the problem is, if Ambassador Stevens' family knew that we were sitting on information about the people who killed their son, their brother, and we could look them as a government in the face, then we're messing up. We're messing up.
Fox News spoke exclusively with this special operator who watched the events unfold in real time and has debriefed those who were part of the response. He remains anonymous for his safety and has decided to talk because he says he and others connected with the September 11th attacks in Benghazi are frustrated with the excuses, lies, and lack of a military response since Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans were killed.
We have all the capability, all the training, all the capacity to kill and capture not only terrorists involved with the specific events of 9/11 and Ambassador Stevens' death, but terrorists who are feeding other regions, including Europe, that eventually could affect our national security in the short term. And we're not talking midterm or long term. This is a short term.
The community's pretty frustrated.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a daily frustration.
Another threat, a larger terrorist haven that continues to build in parts of Libya and North Africa. Those working the region in the interest of United States security say plainly the ball's being dropped by top leaders at the White House, Pentagon, and State Department.
The second highest population of foreign fighters in the war in Iraq came from Benghazi, second to Saudi Arabia. So we're talking about a historic location and region that has fed foreign fighters to kill Americans and kill other coalition forces. The analysts, the intelligence experts that I work with all say the same thing, that if we just ignore the situation as it presents itself, eventually another invasion will have to take place for us to eventually turn the tide.
He says the region also remains a weapons hub after the overthrow of former leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, which saw massive stockpiles of weapons in Libya move freely across the Mediterranean and in many cases into Syria. While the U.S. has claimed a more active role to find and remove an estimated 20,000 shoulder-launched missiles called man-pads, some Americans working in the area say they're not allowed to take or even destroy the missiles because they have not been given the authority from their chain of command.
I have come across SA-7s in the hands of friendly forces, meaning, either surrogate military or police forces that wanted to be handed over, and I was unable to do that because there was no program in place. No government organizations were interested. No special operations organizations were interested.
Is it a little frustrating knowing that these friendly forces, potential friendly forces, or friendly people on the ground there were willing to pass along something that could fall into the hands of an adversary, and there was no plan in place to do it?
It was frustrating not only for myself, but for the men and the guys that I work with. We always talk amongst each other and discuss that, it's probably going to take a 747, a 757 to get shot down in Tripoli for somebody to pay attention to that, which is unfortunate.
Brett, looking for a response to the charge that the possible mastermind has been identified and walking around in Libya. We reached out to the State Department, the CIA, the Pentagon, and the FBI, and we received no official response or comment. Brett?
Okay, Adam, part 3 tomorrow. Thank you.